I'm kind of curious when a company's moving from proof of concept to production. I feel like some organizations might be nervous about control and governance, especially you working in healthcare and having these very HIPAA sensitive clients. How do we trust information that's coming out of the Gen AI?
Yeah, I think responsible AI is a very, very big topic, right? That's probably a whole session or episode in itself. Um, but you first need to understand how you're applying this, right? So as an example, we were doing some things where we were optimizing what data you're incorporating into the solution. So we had developing models where we were trying to predict suicide, and you're absolutely throwing everything you can at that model to try and figure it out, right? And doing everything you can, right? And then another scenario where we're doing much more of an operational model where we're trying to figure out like what's the probability of this patient showing up or not. Well, you have to be careful there because you don't want to be putting protected classes in that model because you just don't want any perceived issues coming out of that, right? So you have to kind of associate the data with the use case that you're really trying to think. And of course, the data's got to be accurate. So you need good controls on the data. When you're developing these models, you have to make sure that you're accounting for bias. If you're developing certain models, lots of times in these models, you need to be they're probabilistic, so they may not always get the same answer, right? So you can put some controls around the models, um, fairness and understanding, and a lot of times if you have people in there, you want to put limits on these models so that they don't get what we call jailbroken or people trying to hack into them. So you can put block lists on these models so that they don't say certain things that they're not supposed to. So you can really, really kind of put some parameters kind of around all of these models, the data, all that stuff. And I think just in general, you're not going to get it right the first time. So you want to kind of, crawl, walk, run, right? And you're going to do a lot of testing. There's a whole approach called red teaming when you're kind of building these models and testing them. And just like the term ethical hackers is out there, like you're having when you're testing these models, you have like good actors and then you have the bad actor testing. You're trying to break it. So you kind of have a lot of kind of those capabilities, or you put a lot of effort into that to make sure that it not only gives you the results that you're expecting, but it's consistent, pretty consistent, and find out where it's not working. And I think with all that, there's a bunch of, you need to scale up your testing as well, because when you're, testing these models, once again, they're probabilistic. You may need to test it, 10 times, 100 times, right? To try and see how many times it fails. So there's ways to test these models at scale as well. And I think once all of that is done, you still, once again, crawl, walk, run, you still want to kind of be, putting it together. And if you can kind of have folks opt in initially, that's always a good thing. Have the suggestion and have folks opted in. And then once you kind of work out some of the bugs, then maybe you can start having folks opt out, right? It becomes the default and then folks can opt out of it. And then once you kind of even work out more of the bugs, you may have it as automated if you get to that stage. So those are just, there's a whole lot in that kind of area that you want to be careful of. And and you have to, of course, work with the team, and this is a very collaborative activity to make sure that it's getting the objectives and the desired results that you're going after as a group.